times with people. And I did actually perform live for the first time in a really long time outside the day that Biden, that we knew that he got elected. Producer of mine started working with this DJ, and then they already had a plan to do something. And then it was kind of like the celebratory thing. So we performed outside, and it was really wonderful to be with, because she and I have been, the producer I work with, her name's Pants Pony. We have been working a lot, FaceTime, all that stuff. So it was amazing to see her in person. And yeah.
So was that one of your first sort of live events in a long time?
Oh, yeah. Really long time. I mean, even over a year, because I actually wasn't performing live that much even before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then of course, pandemic.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like weird. I was kind of nervous about it, which I don't actually get that nervous to perform, but it had been too long.
Yeah. And so what was the vibe like that day?
I mean, the vibe was amazing. Here in New York City, anywhere you go, everyone's screaming, everyone was just like so excited. And it really felt like this like communal vibe. Like we were all together. And I know that's very, it happened in other places, of course, but here in New York, I mean, so liberal. And what was cool about, Tompkins Square Park in the East Village?
Yeah.
So it was really cool. There were like 5 bands. So it's like at kind of at every corner, there was like a different type of band, and like we were one of the bands, and it wasn't, nothing was planned. It was just that's kind of how it worked out. And so it was really cool. If you were there, you could kind of walk around and hear, there was like this jazz funk band, and then like a Beatles cover band, and then like we were doing kind of like electro hip hop with live cello, and I was singing.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it was all spontaneous.
Yeah.
So I think that people felt pretty good that day.
Oh yeah.
There was like a sense of a pressure cooker being released a little bit. Yeah. So how are people feeling today? What are the streets in New York like today?
I mean, things were really good for a while because our numbers were so low. We were the hotbed at first, and it was, all my family. I'm not from New York, and none of my family's in New York, and they were all worried about me being here, but I did stay here. I really feel like, I've been in New York now for 11 years, and now I have lived through a pandemic here. And I'm like, I think I'm a New Yorker now.
I was going to ask you that. So definitely, trial by fire. So I was going to ask you, so where do you say you're from now? You are a New Yorker.
I mean, I'm from Ohio originally, but I feel very much like a Brooklynite. I mean, I love Brooklyn. I feel, and I tell this to people, I've lived in Alabama, I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in Ohio, I've lived in Wisconsin, I lived in Boston for a summer. I feel the most at home in New York. I feel the most normal.
Yeah.
Not that being normal is something to try to be, but I feel so comfortable here.
Yeah. So one thing about New York is that everybody lives there. There's all people around. I mean, you can find all sorts of stories. There's no sort of limiting story. Although there are pockets of stronger cultures that, but it is all pockets, and there's not one narrative that is the New York story. And I feel very bonded to New York also, although I've lived there one summer, but my grandparents were from there, lived there. My mother was born there.
Oh, wow.
I've got cousins and family in New York, and I feel like New York is like my American story, even though I grew up in Maine, actually, like way up I-95 up the coast. But there is something about New York that is a story for everybody, I think, whether you just arrived, whether you speak the language a little bit or a lot, or whether, it's just truly a port town, of people coming and going and ideas coming and going.
Yeah. And that's the energy. I was talking with another music artist this week, and we were talking about how, even though, I mean, kind of going back to your other question, what's it like now in New York? Things have been pretty good. And now we're, schools are closing again, and our numbers are going up. And so things are changing, but And of course, New York, I mean, you can't go out to see live music, dance performances, theater, all those things. there isn't the hustle and bustle in that way, but I still feel like being here, there is a New York energy. And some people might disagree with me, but there's something about this place that I still feel that energy that drew me to it, and that I think keeps me here, and that I think is just so special. Even in a pandemic with so many people fled New York, you know, things are definitely not the same, but there's still some of that New York grit, I guess, and creative energy that I still feel even during this time when there is a lot of loss in so many ways.
In so many ways, it's unquantifiable. And I think that the interesting thing about this pandemic is all the efforts to quantify it, like how many deaths, how much, you know, per capita, per this region, that region. And it's the data is hard to follow, even though we're looking at specific graphs and charts, and, you know, it is, there's so many things that can't be graphed and charted that are the stories that don't get told. But getting back to New York, I do have to say, you mentioned like the energy that brought you there. You, out of practically anybody I know, you have been fueled by this energy that you're talking about. You're a high energy person, I think. From the how I know you, I think that you are a high energy person. But maybe it comes and goes, and you know, maybe there's some seasons to it, or tides to it, or however you want to describe it. But so, do you have sort of creative seasons, and then do you need to like burrow down and just like relax and be alone? What's your pattern for creativity?
Pattern for creativity.
So, or you can rephrase my question.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm definitely not a very patterned person. But I think I'm someone who I'm inspired quite a lot. I am inspired by, you know, just kind of on the regular. I'm inspired in many different ways and to express myself, you know, whether it's through drawing or dance or even musically. It's like, is this idea coming to me as a rap, or is it coming to me as a singer-songwriter, or is it an electronic dance song? Or is there just a story to be told? And I've always been like that since I was a kid. I just was like, I exist, I must create. I think something, especially as I've gotten older, that's been really important is a meditation practice, my yoga practice, my dance practice. I am very high energy, but daily I need to have some time where I'm quiet and I'm really not around people, and I can tune in to what's going on. I think that's what sustains me, and that's something I've built, I would say, within the past like 10 years.
Yeah.
Something that's changed. I used to go, and I still can have that, but integrated into my life is because it's also so wonderful to stop. And sometimes I still find myself not stopping, and then I'm like, you have to meditate even for 10 minutes. You have to, you know, and sometimes it's hard because I want to keep going. But in terms of creativity, I mean, there was a little bit of a lull. I mean, this year, there was definitely times where I just I was creating kind of, but I couldn't connect. And I felt actually disconnected. And it was partly pandemic and partly personal things that were going on. And I was scared, honestly, because I was like, that was something I always landed on, you know, was the expression and creativity, and everything felt far. There was a period of time where everything felt far away, and I was like, and not even that feels like my joy. And then, you know, I have to give it up to my the producer I spoke about before, Pants Pony. She encouraged me one time. She said, "Let's just make a song. Let's just do it. I know you're having a hard time." She's like, "I have too," but you know, and so focusing on something, I sent her this idea one night, and then we made the song in like a few days, and that like lifted me up into something. And then I recently took a really amazing class with a music supervisor, Chris Malaire, and a sync agent, Mark Freezer of Sync Summit. I don't know if you know them.
No.
But so, yeah, I decided, you know, I need to be accountable to my creativity. And I had assignments every week. I had to write and record a song every week. And it really got me back into the zone. And all of a sudden, like, this joy started happening amidst and amongst everything that's been going on. And I let myself feel the joy, all the other things. And I was just like, whoa, this and no matter what way, you know, I know I'm speaking a lot, but in the music industry, there have been things, you know, and you, as you know, from running a festival and all these different things, saying like, do I want to be part of this? Is this industry for me? Is it something that aligns with my morals and my values and my, you know, happiness and equilibrium? And getting back into music recently, I was like, I don't know what this exactly is going to look like. I have to do this. I have to do it because the joy that blossomed out of really having it as part of my life again in a really, I was going to say specific, but it's not even specific, just like that I have to do it, honestly changed. Like my friends were like, whoa, you seem different. Like, and now it got me back into like, I'm just doing it. And then what was so cool is these other projects just came up out like kind of energetically. Yeah. So now I'm also accountable to other musical projects just from the outside world. And it's been, I mean, it's one of those things where I really feel a little bit like music saved my life in some ways, you know? Yeah. I mean, that can sound really drastic, and I know that's like a whole thing, but it just like opened me back up to the world.
Yeah.
You know?
I like how you describe it about feeling joy, feeling that joy, that specific joy that comes out of creating, out of having a problem and solving it as a process. And there's probably a million other ways to describe what that joy is, and you know, other words to wrap around it. But it is a slog if you don't have that, you know, because otherwise you're just hammering through things that have worked before in the past, you know. So that is amazing. So you guys, so we've got a few people watching our conversation right now. So please, if you're listening, feel free to introduce yourself. If you have any questions for Alyson, pop them into the comments area, and we can see how she answers your questions. I don't know, Alyson, if you can see the comments where you are. But we've got one from Alan Walters who says, music is a lifesaver for sure.
Oh, cool. Oh, I'm seeing the comments now. Yeah.
It's
Hi.
Cool.
Hi, Andrea.
So there are a few people here. So isn't that neat? This is a kind of neat format, and I definitely appreciate people who type in and who, you know, say hello and respond in the comments. So one thing you mentioned earlier is a meditation practice. Is that something, did you like read a book and think I need to start that? Or did you just launch? Did you discover it on your own?
So about 10 years, you know, the old story, I went through a breakup and I felt like I was falling apart as you know,
one does.
Other humans have experienced this, I'm sure. And I felt really, you know, I think when things happen, sometimes it brings up all this other stuff. And a friend of mine at the time said, you know, I've been going to this meditation group, you might want to go. And I had always been interested in meditation, and I read about Buddhism. I was actually taking this Asian American movement dance class in college. And part of the class, we had to read a little bit about Buddhism. And I remember it was a short reading, and I remember feeling pretty peaceful in a different way when I read it. And that was a long time ago. And then so I went to the meditation, and I remember the first time I was so mad because I went to the meditation. I thought, oh, I'm just going to feel calm after. And do you meditate?
Yeah, I do. It didn't start with me understanding that that's what I was doing, but it started out of running. I would run. Yeah. And then at the end of my runs, I would walk, and I started just I started developing my own practice. And then when I started reading about what other people did, I realized my practice followed actual practices. And so I've learned a lot more about meditation and different things. But it definitely came out of walking and running.
Yes. And so what I was going to say is, as you know, I mean, especially sitting meditation, right? Especially when you get into it, and even when you've been doing it for a long time, it doesn't just calm you down. It doesn't stop your thoughts. Then what happens is you're actually sitting with what's there. You can't run away from it. You're just with it. And so I remember the first meditation class I went to being like, this isn't how I want to feel. I don't know if I want to do this. But then I kept going back, and then I developed, I'm part of a Sangha here in New York. So, you know, I had my teacher, and I've been on silent, you know, week-long silent retreats, and weekend silent retreats, and other retreat, you know, and really cultivating and moving through a lot with that. And so, yeah, I've read lots of texts. I've sat with lots of teachers. I have, you know, a wonderful community and very close friends who came from the meditation community. And so yeah, it's been a really big part of my life. And there really is so much wisdom there. And I really connect with a lot of the Buddhist teachings because it's called a religion, but it's really just about like how to decrease suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's been a pretty big part of my life, again, for the last decade. And, sometimes when things are really hard, there's a certain time in the pandemic, I just couldn't meditate. Of course I could have, but I wasn't. And bringing it back, it's just, and that always changes too. And people, I feel like, will say to me, I'm not good at meditation. And, that's not really what it's about. Or I'm not good at yoga. And it's like,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I learned about yoga when I was in college, and we had to take a gym credit, and I got to the sign up really late, and the only thing left was yoga, and I was like, oh, I'll just take this yoga and I'll do this so I get the gym credit over with. And that, out of anything I ever studied in college at all, that has traveled with me through my life. And I definitely don't do yoga all the time, but I do return to it, and I'm like, I'm so glad I took that year-long class of yoga when I was so young, and that became part of what I do.
Yeah.
But recently I've started to try to just do sun salutes every day. Just a bunch of rounds of sun salutes. I'll get back into yoga later, but
what's so funny to me about yoga is for years people would tell me, you love yoga, you should do yoga. When I was in grad school, I remember something, and I was like, I would go to a class and it was too slow for me. I actually couldn't appreciate it and I also started my yoga practice about maybe like 11 years ago. But it's so, and then I became, oh my gosh, yoga all the time, and I wasn't ready for it. My high energy didn't want to settle down that much.
Yeah. So was it meditation that brought you back to yoga?
No, I was doing yoga first. I actually started doing yoga because when I moved to the city, I was taking dance classes, and I'm seeing some of the comments here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah, Tai Chi is really cool too. I've done a little bit of that in Qigong.
Yeah.
But I started doing yoga because it was the cheapest exercise I could do in the city. So I was doing donation-based classes.
Okay. So it was available.
It was available, and because I really like to take dance classes, but the dance class, I was going to Ailey or other things, and it was expensive.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that all the time, and I wanted to move my body, and so that's why I started doing it. And then I fell in love with it. It was just the right time for me.
We've got a question here from Cyrus Simpson who says, "What do you think about hot yoga? Have you ever done that?"
Yes. So I love that now we're like talking about yoga. So Cyrus, I have done hot yoga 3 times in my life. The Bikram, I did Bikram yoga. I one time ate some Chinese food a little too close to doing that, and it was really tough. You're not supposed to leave the room. So for hot yoga, you're just staying there. So for that session, I just was nauseous and dealing with feelings, which is a meditation in itself, I guess. And then a couple other times I had really good experiences. And after, I just remember sitting on a bench for a half an hour staring into nothingness. I was just like in a good way. It just took it out of me. But I think with hot yoga too, it depends on what, 70 in yoga is great. Yeah. It is, I think, and there's something beneficial about yoga in all ways. I'm a little wary of hot yoga because it stretches your muscles out so much. So you might do things that maybe your body, it can be positive and negative depending on your body. I have some injuries. And so for me, like Iyengar, which is really about alignment, is really, really good for me. Whereas like in a hot yoga class, I might think my body can do something, but maybe it's not so good for it. So it really depends,
Yeah. So I was going to say, we've got some other questions coming up, but I was going to say, when I was in Chicago, I used to take a yoga class at the YMCA near our house, and the instructor, whose name I would just have to, she was beautiful. She was 90 years old, and she was so amazingly strong and grounded and wise. She was like a perfect person because she was clear. she was clear-headed about the whole thing. Anyway, so age is a wonderful thing. I think it gets a bad rap sometimes, but it's
well, in
anyway.
our culture, I have a whole thing about that. In our culture, you're supposed to age. I mean, especially if you're a woman. I do think things like yoga, I mean, yoga will keep you, you know, my mom is also 68 and still does yoga and dance and is, you know, doing her thing. And I hope to be the same way.
So is your mother a dancer?
She has done a lot of dance. Yeah. I don't know.
And so did you grow up in a dancing family?
I mean, I guess dancing was encouraged. But I mean, I took some dance lessons when I was young, but then I started doing musical theater. And so I didn't have time for dance lessons because I just had to, but I had to learn choreography in that.
Yeah.
And my mom always liked to dance. We liked to dance together, you know, when we
Cool.
hang out, not during the pandemic. Although I think we maybe danced once over Zoom together.
Aw, that's cool.
But I didn't start taking dance classes really formally until college. And that was really great, college and grad school. I took ballet classes in grad school.
Did you go to art? I also took ballet in grad school, at art school. Did you go to art school?
So I have an MFA in creative writing.
Okay.
So yes.
Excellent. Yeah.
Was an art.
Very good. So I want to pop up Sally, Andrea. Here she is. Andrea Feldman's question. What was your favorite live show you played?
I think my favorite live show was when I got to play the main stage at Webster Hall during Tinderbox, the festival I founded.
Yeah.
And also when I played at Music Hall of Williamsburg, that was great too. So I like being on big stages. I like taking up a lot of space in that way, because I feel like I can get even more into like my zone.
Yeah.
I like the lights in my eyes. I can't totally see people, but I'm still, you know, feeling like I'm just giving it my all. So that was great, because also just from the logistical standpoint, when you're playing a bigger venue, you have a sound person on stage and you have someone in the house.
Yeah.
And I could hear myself better than I ever have. So I felt like I could really be nuanced about how I was expressing each note. People are really paying attention to how you're able to hear things, and you have these two people. It just blows you away when you're used to playing in like smaller clubs and you can't really hear yourself. And after you're saying, was I on key? What was going on? I couldn't hear the bassist. I couldn't hear whatever it was, you know. And everything was so clear, and I got to kind of like inhabit the space. And I feel like, you know, when you can hear yourself, when the monitors are good and you can hear yourself, like I said, you can be really nuanced and really give to the performance.
Absolutely. Because your performance becomes, it's the feedback that you can work with. Yeah. Very cool. So that reminds me of Tinderbox Music Festival. The reason why I met you is because there was a little article in the New Yorker magazine about you and Tinderbox. And I remember reading it in this very house. I was reading that, and at that time I was planning Muse Fest, a festival to amplify women in music and film and culture. And I just thought, this person, Alyson Greenfield, I want to know her. And so I wrote you a message, and I told you about what we were doing, and you sort of were on board as a consultant for our festival the first year that we did it in London. And so we've stayed in touch since then. But Tinderbox was an amazing success. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, you know, it's funny now because I feel like it was like this younger version of myself who actually wasn't as in touch with her calm, that was like, I need to make a mark on this world, and I need to do something big, and I need to, you know, I did it because Lilith Fair had come back 2010, and you know, they were doing a contest to get on the new Lilith Fair, and I didn't want to be part of a contest, and I launched a blog that was pitching myself to Lilith Fair, and I wrote them songs, and I did all the stuff, and I didn't get to do Lilith Fair. I wasn't playing by the rules, but I was getting some attention for the blog, and then I thought, I had only been in New York for about a year, and I was blown away by the artists that I had seen here. There's so many artists who I've seen that probably the whole world will never see, and they're just incredible. So I want to highlight that. I want to highlight these emerging artists who are just so awesome. And So, I've always had a very organizational side in addition to my creative and artistic side. And so it also, producing is also an art in itself, as you know. I mean, it's a big job. But so I got then excited about working with people and producing a festival. And, but I learned a lot of lessons from that. I kind of did a go big or go home. And I think we grew too fast.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, because there was this part of me that I don't feel like I have as much now. That was like, need to get bigger, need to do it, when we did Webster Hall, I mean, we had 3 stages of music for about 12 hours, artists from like 4 or 5 different countries. It was just a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we had 30 acts, I'm not sure.
Yeah. And some very big acts as well. Yeah. So yeah, that was quite a feat. Having produced some smaller festivals, and I know what's involved in it. There's so many details, and even details you can't imagine that do come up. Yeah. So do you have any desire to ever do that again?
No, I feel like it's the right circumstances.
Yeah.
I feel like there would have to be a budget and a lot of things that were like lined up, because of how we were doing it. It was like we were like working to, okay, get the sponsor, do the thing, did it. It was like I would only do it if someone came to me and said like, hey, we have a budget and these sponsors that are on board, this is what we're giving to you now, what can you do? And that would be fine. But it's not something that really necessarily excites me in the same way that it did, because it's also because I was the person, I was the person everything was going to fall on, no matter what it was, right? Because no one was getting paid, and it was so I had all these wonderful volunteers, but it's like at the end of the day, I had to wear so many hats and do so many things and was accountable to so many people that it was just really overwhelming. Yeah. Yeah. And exciting at times. I'm going to try to switch this. It's very, very bright.
Yeah. You've got a sunny day there.
Really sunny day, I think. Sorry about the movement. But.
So no, that's really great that you've got so much sun. So you can't see, but I've got a window overhead, and what we've got is black darkness, and our black darkness is starting so early now, so that our days are so clipped.
I know,
but we just have to make it to December 21st, and then the sun again. But you are not having that problem right now. So
it's weird. The days, I feel like it just happens in 1 second that all of a sudden it's dark. But we're having very, very sunny days today, and where I live, I have a lot of windows and a lot of sun. So
that's great. That makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
I do enjoy sort of watching the cycles of the sun and the moon and seeing where the sun rises, where it's setting. It's just in my own little tiny part of the world. It's always it's like the big event. What's happening outside. So this has been a nutty year, and that's like, I don't know anyone who would disagree. In spite of that, do you have projects coming up? Are you working towards the next thing, the next chapter?
I'm trying to figure out right now. So I split my projects up last year. I used to kind of do all the genres under my name, Alyson Greenfield. Yeah. Right now, if you on my website, you can see that I have a page for my Alyson Greenfield singer-songwriter. I have a page for Magical Realist, which is the electro-pop project, page for Ali G, which is the hip-hop, and then a page for my TV and film work.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Thanks for posting those links. So right now I do have a single, which you might play, that is, no one's heard the whole thing of, but there's only a teaser on the website for Magical Realist. And there is a video in the can that was edited by my friend who is an editor at Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. I'm trying to decide how to release that. I also have the hip hop EP. I have a bunch of content, and I'm trying to decide, how do I want to release this? What's going to be the best way to get it out there? And how can I do this also in the best way, having these 3 kind of personas and music styles?
Can I share the link to Uncharted Places?
The link?
Yeah, because we're not going to be able to play it live, but so in the comments area, there's a link to Uncharted Places, that's the work you're talking about right now, correct?
No.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. That video was a while ago, but I'm very proud of that video. I mean, there's a lot of 3D CGI stuff. I'm flying in it. I'm falling from the earth. There's a lot going on. I had a great collaborative team on that. And that video actually was a semi-finalist in the Independent Music Awards, like music video contest.
Cool.
But no, this is a new video that no one's seen.
Okay.
For the Magical Reels project, which is everything's kind of new because I just separated the projects. I know it's confusing, which is why I need, thanks, Sandra, which is why I need to, it's a lot having all these different personalities, and I'm trying to make it so it's going to be easier for people to consume instead of them being confused about like, oh, you rap, but then you are like playing the synthesizer, but then you have these like piano ballads, which I think people are getting more hip to that now. People are cool with that, but me, they feel like a little different parts of my personality. So I'm trying to see what's going to be the best way to roll out those different projects. And I have producers on all of them, and
So does it make sense that different projects sort of lean towards different platforms that, or that you would release them under different names completely separating them out?
So that's the idea right now. I'm still it'll be interesting. I mean, after this, because there will have been a decision made. I'm trying to decide if it's going to be kind of like not that I'm comparing myself to David Bowie, but kind of like a David Bowie thing where it's like the Ziggy Stardust album. Would it be like the Ali G album where it's like that's the hip hop and it's still under Alyson Greenfield, or is that really going to be another name? So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to get that out there so people can appreciate it, because some people who want to listen to my quirky weirdo raps might be different than the people who want to listen to my ethereal electropop,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You want to allow the music to find the right people and the right people to find it.
Yeah. So I'm having meetings with people. I've been, having a lot of Zoom meetings with people to, more people in the industry and PR and kind of management type of people to think about what's the best way to do that.
Oh, neat. So are you continuing to learn a lot about the music industry right now?
Yeah, I think I'm learning a lot, about there's so many changes. It's changed so much. And so, I mean, it's interesting to talk to these people too that have been in the industry for a long time on the business end, to hear them also talk about how much it's changed and how they're also still figuring it out, even if they've worked with really big artists or at bigger labels or bigger PR firms. I mean, it's just not the same, So I think everyone's really what I'm hearing is really everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah. So what do you think the biggest changes are?
I mean, obviously the whole online streaming is very different, right? People aren't buying physical items as much of a physical CD. I think people are getting more into records because they're cool now again.
Yeah.
But it's more streaming and Spotify and all that stuff. And, I appreciate that too. I listen to all the streaming stuff, and it's really easy to access a lot of music. And, but it's just different, I guess, from the business end, the way people are spending money, and the way people are getting their music, and that we have access to everything. Yeah. So, and I think the PR is changing. I mean, I guess also with everything being online, so many news outlets now being online, and how people are promoting their work. And then there's also just the oversaturation. I mean, everyone can make music from their home. We all do, right? So there's just so much, Right. I think it's always interesting when you just talk about the music you like, talking to people and friends or people that I meet, and they say a name I never heard of. I say a name they've never heard of. There's just so much music.
Yeah. So we've got a question here from Andre. After a while, you will, what genre music is appreciated the most? Will this lead you then onto that direction, or will you do what you enjoy the most? So I think the question is, do you do what genre is appreciated, or do you just do what you like?
No, I do.
I think that's the question. So you follow your own answers.
I had some people when I played CMJ Music Festival a while ago. I had some management people say, "Hey, if you just did this singer-songwriter piano ballad thing, I think we could really promote you, and you could maybe go on all these tours and do all this stuff." And I said, "But I'd be bored," because he was saying you just rapped and you were looping this synthesizer, and then you had your piano and the strings, and it's so much. And that was some of the feedback I would get.
Yeah,
it's too much. Who are you? What do you do? And so that's why I separated the projects now.
Yeah.
And I am interested to see, and this is what I've been talking about with people, if one of them hits more than the others, right? If there's a bigger audience for one, then yes, I might put more energy, time, money into that thing.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever be able to not create all of them, because each thing just comes, like, I don't decide. I really feel like when I'm creating, it just whatever it is comes to me, and that's a rap. Gangsta's Paradise wants to be played on a Rainbow Glockenspiel. I tried that. I have this hip hop covers album. I tried Gangsta's Paradise on a bunch of other instruments. I did not think I was going to be playing that song on a baby Glockenspiel, but that's what it was, and I got a lot of good feedback from that song. I mean, I feel like I just listen. I listen to what it is.
I think it's interesting because the advice that we often get throughout life is like, choose something, stick with it, do that one thing. People need to understand, what's your tagline? How do you describe yourself? What's your 30-second elevator pitch? Blah, blah, blah. The advice is always to simplify for others, not for yourself, but for others. And I think that it's interesting you mentioned David Bowie, because he followed his creative instinct clearly, throughout his life, and it all makes sense. And so I think that you will get advice. I mean, one gets advice from the industry and from gatekeepers along the way. But at the end of the line, you have to know that your journey is going to make sense.
Yeah. And you might not be as marketable, and you might not do, but it has to be, what are the motives for you, And I think I've been scared of that in a way that people didn't want to, and I was mad. Oh, why do I have to be one thing? Why do I have to, and I do understand people our brains want to categorize in some ways. But it's also kind of not giving people maybe enough credit that they could be open to multiple, ideas and things. And I mean, how many David Bowies are there? There was one, you know what I mean? It's not, it's, I think about Beck as an artist, he definitely crosses genres. And when I saw him perform, it was very inspirational to me, because I would see him go into more like a rap type of thing, and then he'd play the banjo, and then he'd have this, poppy electro stuff, and then guitar. So he's someone that, but it's, and again, I think right now people are moving into different genres. It's more of a little bit more of a thing that might expect.
Maybe as music is more accessible. Funny you mentioned Beck. I picture him just sort of in a car driving around different neighborhoods of Los Angeles, listening to this music here, listening to that music there, just gathering it all, putting it in the trunk, taking it home. I think that in this day and age, we are listening to more different kinds of music, and we are synthesizing it more. And now also that individuals are more responsible for their own marketing and their own message. Messages can get more complicated. They might even be less professional or less, or maybe not perfectly constructed, but they will still find their audience. Because I don't think that audiences are necessarily looking for an extremely well-crafted message and package. They're looking for the thing that they like in the music. They're looking for their own individual hook into that music.
Right. And I think for artists, the challenge is for us to find those people that are the audience for what we want to make.
Exactly. So do you have do you do anything in particular to find your people, to build your audience, or are you just sort of creating and moving forward?
So that's, again, part of the kind of the next phase. I feel like I'm trying to be smarter about all this stuff. When I first started out, it was like, I make this thing, I do this thing, I play this show, I have this festival, I'm going. If you're along for the ride, cool. And people were. I mean, I was, just by doing my thing, I definitely was getting some press. I was doing, I was getting some placements in film and TV. I think I was out there so much, but there was no method to the madness. There was just madness, which resulted in some success, right?
Yeah.
But I think now that's why I'm talking to a lot of people and having meetings and saying like, okay, you've been in the industry for a really long time on the business end. What do you think about this? What do you think? People that have said to me, I like what you do. Let's try to frame it or talk about it. So again, the next phase is that I want to decide how I'm going to roll out this material and do that in conjunction with trying to actually target fans. People who would enjoy the music, not, but trying to say like, instead of just putting it out there and not, really trying to use different tools that there might be and have people also help me do that instead of doing everything on my own. And, really trying to create a base of people who just enjoy what I'm doing, are excited to hear it. And it doesn't have to be some huge thing, but if you have, a base of that, hopefully that's good. So so I'm going to be really putting thought into that instead of willy-nilly,
I think, you mentioned earlier that everybody has access to the audio tools. Everybody makes music at home. Everybody has, everybody can get in this. But the thing, I think that the constraint is time. That it takes a lot of time to sort out the tools you have available to you, besides writing the music and playing the music and having that whole part of your life going. There's so much involved in the marketing tools and just the apps available on a daily basis that you have to decide, do I want to use this or not, or how am I going to be using this? It's huge. Yeah. And I think that it's those issues and time that prevent people from getting in or getting in more.
You mean artists?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's really hard. I mean, it's also the thing of like independent artists now, like we wear every hat.
Right.
We're doing everything and we have to do all this social media stuff and we have to do, it's just so, even today I was trying to put up another thing to promote this so people can know about it. And just the amount of time I was to make the story post on the Instagram, I was just like, oh my God, like that.
I know. I know. There are other tools. Yeah, there are other tools to learn. There's probably a quicker way to do it. And
but it's just part of that. You have to. There's a lot of things that you need to do, and I'm grateful as much as social media can be, I think, a hindrance to a lot of things. I think that it is helpful. I mean, I have met collaborators and people online. I mean, we met online.
Yeah.
I mean, you
sort of.
You read when you reached out.
I read about you in a print magazine.
That's true. We did read about you in a print magazine. But we connected more through online. But I mean, what I'm saying is I really have met people like collaborators through online.
Yeah.
Real
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's like community building. Community building doesn't, you don't have to be in the same neighborhood. Here, we've got another question from Andre. He's asking about supporting yourself. Do you use crowdfunding?
So crowdfunding is interesting. I used crowdfunding for the festival that I created. I used it twice. And so I never felt like I could use crowdfunding for my own music. I'm also a professor. So I teach English and a multidisciplinary arts course at Hunter College in New York City. And I do like arts education things. And then I also do have music projects, where I do make some money, but I don't at the moment primarily support myself through music. And I haven't done the crowdfunding for my own music because I felt like I did it for my festival and I didn't want to really tap my audience. Now that was a long time ago now, so I could maybe do it. I don't know if now is the time to do that, but I've always been very, I guess, scared to really do it for my own music.
Have you investigated Patreon?
I mean, I have friends that do it and I know about it, but I have not. It is really interesting. It's an interesting idea. And maybe I should there's definitely something blocking me. Like, do I deserve to ask people for money to be an artist? That's a big thing. Yeah,
I know. Exactly. And, the thing about crowdfunding, I did a crowdfunding project once with Pledge Music. I don't know if you remember Pledge Music, but
Pledge, yeah.
They went, what's that?
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
So they went under just as my campaign was wrapping up, and I had made about like 500 euros or so in my campaign to produce to go towards a record, and they folded, and that was, so for me it was not that big of a deal, but there were people who lost tens and 20 and 30 thousands of dollars.
I did not know that.
They went under and they disappeared. Anyway, that's another story. But crowdfunding is an interesting tool, and it is an interesting thing, and it is also, it's social. Like, you meet people, you get people involved, but as you said, the whole thing about asking people for money in exchange for merchandise or services that you might not put forward in exactly the same package, it doesn't come from a natural place. But some people are really good at fundraising. There's a whole industry around fundraising. So
absolutely. And I think, it's something to get over if I could. It's just something that I have to deal with myself, I think it's a societal thing. Like I said, like, do I deserve to ask people for money for me to be an artist? There's definitely no, get your own job, do your own work. To myself, I'm saying that.
Yeah, exactly. But so I think the thing about Patreon that's a little bit different is the subscription model, as opposed to just sort of,
which I think is
selling. Cool.
Yeah. So I think I should look into that, because I have so much content. So I do feel like I could provide people with things or exclusive things that I wouldn't even necessarily release.
Yeah.
Do you do Patreon?
I do not, and I haven't felt the need for it yet. But I've been interested in watching how other people are using it. And as a space for sort of private and more sort of exclusive content, but also events and smaller gatherings and smaller get-togethers. And I think that's the thing that could be really interesting, is to create a community of like-minded people. I mean, you could wrap that community around anything. It doesn't have to be your own music, but
Right. No, that's true. I think that's something maybe to look into. I know I did talk about it once with a musical collaborator. We kind of joked around about having a Patreon, but
yeah. So,
see,
so you have offered, or you have agreed to join us in MuseFest, which is going to be an online music festival that I'm producing, December 5th and 6th. We're going to have 2 days of live music. Initially, I was going to do one long day of live music, but I realized most participants were in the US. So I was thinking, I'm going to be up until 2 a.m. doing this. So I separated it into 2 days. And so that's probably when I'm going to see you live again. Do you know what you're going to be performing for that?
Yeah, I think actually I'm going to be working with the new DJ we were talking about. So I think actually it's going to be more of my new electronic dance set, which the Magical Realist stuff, which is not, you can't buy it yet.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great.
It'll be a good teaser set to see, I think, what people think of this new material. And, I probably won't really be playing instruments, even though I play instruments on the tracks. It's going to be more like I'm going to be just doing my thing, and the DJ, and then my Pants, who's one of the producers too, she might do some live cello. So I think it's going to be more like a DJ live cello, me singing thing, which I think will be really fun. So we're going to try to get something together really fast. I mean, I can always play guitar, play piano too. I can always do singer-songwriter stuff, but I'm really excited about the new material, and I'm excited to have a chance to have some people hear it. So
yeah. So when you were describing that, I just was thinking, I miss live music so much. I wish I could just go hear you. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what you're doing next.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to hear it too, because nobody's really seen it or heard it. I'm excited to know about all the other artists that are going to be amused. I'm just excited to learn more about.
It's good. I think it's going to be good. I think I've gotten a lot of positive responses of really super interesting people. So it's going to be dynamic for sure. And for me personally, that is something that I just really needed to happen right now, is to rally the troops.
Yeah.
Bring everybody in
and create community in that way. And I'm really excited to be part of it. I've kind of been asked to do some other things during this time, and I just didn't feel ready. So I'm excited that this is kind of going to be my first live stream thing that I'm really doing. So, and I'm excited that it's part of a community, and part of MuseFest. And because, we always talked about me getting to Europe and being part of it live. And so this is a good way for now.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like I'm bridging the past with the present into the future, which for a while I was feeling just that I was in a swamp of no time, neither.
I know.
So it's been quite something.
Super excited. Thank you for asking me to be part of it. I'm really excited about it.
Oh yeah, thanks for agreeing. So it's gonna be great. So today is Friday. It's Friday midday for you. What are you gonna do this weekend?
So I actually have a bunch of music stuff. I have a co-write with someone else for a German producer that I actually, after this, I literally need to record the demo for because we're sending it to them. I was asked to write a song for a musical. So I'm working on that. And then this weekend, hopefully, I've been going to some outdoor dance parties, so I might do that.
Oh, so what's that like?
Amazing. There's like a DJ, and then, people wear masks and kind of are spread out. And I mean, I love to dance, and it would be nice out this weekend. So, so that's kind of what's, lots of music and dancing, and some meditation as well.
Well, that sounds like a pretty good weekend, all things considered.
I think so. I'm pretty excited about it.
I'm really into this outside dance party. Like nothing like that is going on around here. I assure you, we're on a very strict lockdown. But even beyond that, I don't think anyone would think to do it. But it's a great idea.
Yeah.
So is that with like a DJ sort of set aside or on a stage, and then are there places marked on the ground, like to keep your space?
No, there's not places marked on the ground. What it is there's like a dead end street.
Yeah.
So, and the DJ is at like one end and has like a kind of a DJ with a little tent like far away. And then people just kind of, because it's like a whole street, somehow what's awesome about this one dance party I've been going to is that it actually hasn't been super publicized. It's kind of like if you know about it. So it's not super crowded. So people really there's a lot of, because it's a street on a dead end. So it's like not just street, it's like sidewalk and all this space. And so, and it's kind of in like a warehouse, just like nothing else is around.
Yeah.
So there's really people just kind of there's just room,
I love that. That's terrific. I also just like the idea of the big city, finding space to do your thing in the city. There is space there.
There is. I mean, I've also been going to Prospect Park. There's also been impromptu dance parties. We met this guy who walks around with amp and music, and he just sets it, and then people just space out in the park and dance. It's amazing.
Oh, that's nice. That's really good. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I better let you get back to your day. I've appreciated this conversation so much. It's nice to see you. It's nice to talk to you. And thank you for sharing all of this about your current projects and definitely about your projects to come.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everyone who asked questions and was here. And I'm really excited about MuseFest, and thanks for putting that together, and thanks for having these conversations and providing this platform, providing all the platforms that you're providing for people. Yeah.
It's my pleasure. It certainly is fun. It's some of the tools that I like figuring out. Every week I figure out a new aspect of this. So it's kind of fun. Awesome. So anyway, thank you guys. So please do check out Alyson Greenfield. Her links, I'm going to post them again. Her links are in the comments area. And keep your eyes out for her releases to come. And great. So anyway, have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
And a great dance party. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
See you.